Good evening and aloha. I'm Gene Castagnetti, a retired Colonel of Marines and big admirer of General Stackpole. I'm so pleased I want to congratulate him for this American Patriot Award. But I want to share with you a more in-depth appreciation for the man. Early in his career, General Stackpole was a young Marine captain in command of a rifle company in combat in Vietnam. It's hard to lead men in combat, but General Stackpole, or Captain Stackpole at the time, was able to do it. He was also noted for and cited for his demonstrated courage and bravery under fire. As stated in his Silver Star citation, he was the commanding officer of India Company, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines in the Quai Son Valley during Operation Union, and he led his Marines skillfully, maneuvering against enemy forces in close hand-to-hand combat, destroying 135 of the enemy soldiers and forcing them off the battlefield. His Marines, under his leadership, sustained minimal casualties. He must have had a guardian angel in his life at that time to accomplish such things with the minimum loss to American lives. Later on, he was cited for that action under conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity, given a Silver Star by then approved and authorized by Lieutenant General Victor Krulak, Commanding General, Marine Forces Pacific. 2 weeks later, while engaging enemy forces again, Captain Stackpole sustained a serious wound from a 50 caliber weapon system, 50 caliber machine gun, normally used against tanks and personnel carriers and vehicles, not so much against people. This was a devastating wound. Captain Stackpole, through the help of his teammates, was placed in a medevac helicopter with 12 other Marines and a crew of 4. As that medevac helicopter took off, it was shot down by enemy fire. All Marines aboard died in the crash, with the exception of Captain Stackpole. He was rescued off the battlefield, pulled in by his Marines, and then put on a second helicopter medevac to Charlie Medical Battalion in Chulai, near Tam Kee, Guangdong Province. However, by the time he arrived there, the medical triage team found no pulse, no heartbeat, and saw he had a big loss of blood. They triaged him to the morgue. Now, while in the morgue, a young Navy chaplain was administering the last rites to the killed Marines, and he found Captain Stackpole had signs of life. He called the Navy corpsman, and the corpsman was hesitant to respond, and he said, "Chaplain, sorry, no heartbeat, no pulse." But the Navy chaplain insisted, and the Navy team was able to resuscitate good Captain Stackpole, and as you can see, he's here with us tonight. Thank God, because that's another miracle. The guardian angel had to be there with H.C. Stackpole. Now, is it a coincidence that when he was resuscitated, the chaplain that assisted the Navy come to his aid was a young Navy chaplain named Victor Krulak, Jr., the son of the commanding general that had authorized and approved Hank Stackpole's citation for a Silver Star for courage and bravery in action.
Well, the Navy League really got this one right. General Hank Stackpole is an American patriot. He's a patriot in every sense of the word, from service to his country, to his community, and certainly to the Marine Corps and the military that he served faithfully for so many years. I've known Hank personally for, over 10 years, but I knew of him long before that. Hank Stackpole is an iconic figure in the Marine Corps. Certainly the Marines all know his record of bravery and heroism, leadership on the battlefield and in peacetime. And those of us not in the Marine Corps would hear, and I did, heard stories of Hank Stackpole. So it was particularly gratifying and fun for me to get to know him and Vivian and to watch all the things they've done for this community.
Hank, when we were both students at the National War College in Washington in 1977, 1978, in a class of leaders, he was clearly a standout and was sure, I thought, to get to the top. When Admiral Preer, who was then the Pacific commander, was looking for someone to direct the new Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies in 1996-97, other people and I myself recommended that Hank be considered for the post. We thought he was a perfect fit. Fortunately, he was able to convince Vivian that he come back to government, and he became our first president.
I must also say that he did an extraordinary job with the Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies. I happened to be at Pacific Command when the germ of this idea took off, and we realized then we needed the right guy, the right individual to lead it, with the credentials and the bona fides and the credibility, if you will, throughout the region. And we found that man in Hank Stackpole. And what he did in establishing that center is well documented, and others I know will speak to it. But having seen it from the beginning and realizing just how critical it was to have the right leader, and fortunately this country did when they had Hank Stackpole leading. This is a man that I watched handle all sorts of conditions and challenges with poise, with grace, sincerity, and courage when required. When you talk to Hank, you get the feeling, you know the feeling of commitment, sincerity, and belief. And that permeates what he's done in this community. It affects all of us that are around him. And I consider it one of my great pleasures in my life to be his friend, along with he and his wife.
I am truly grateful for the Navy Leagues honoring us this evening, Jim and myself. Jim has been a longtime friend, and it's a pleasure to be on the same ticket with him, if you will. And another important thing is that I simply would not be here this evening for this wonderful event unless teams of Marines did their job. And in my case, it was India, 3rd Battalion, 5th Regiment. It made the difference. People who laid their lives down so that their skipper wouldn't die on a given day in Vietnam. And then there's Vivian to talk about, because she has been very, very special. She is the wind beneath my wings, and she has provided me help in so many ways, not just taking care of our children, but she nursed me back to health after I came back from my second tour in Vietnam, and pretty well shot up. And then after that, in civilian time, a battle with cancer that some of you know about. And again, she was right there. As far as the Marine Corps is concerned, I really feel that the terms of Semper Fidelis and looking after your people first is the reason that I stayed. The Corps is always on the front, and the quality of our people is singular. I have never served with better people, men and women, ever, ever. So with 36 years of Marine experience behind me, I can tell you that this nation is well served. I want to thank everybody here who took the time to come, and say humbly that your friendship has been a lot of the vitality of life, and I thank you for the time that you've spent to come here, and particularly for the Navy League, which reaches out in the community, not only for the military, but all who continue to try to keep this experiment, the greatest in the history of the world, in democracy. And it can only be served and protected by those who care, those who understand that freedom isn't free.